Welcome to Sustainable Newton and welcome to Jamey Moran, the Metro Program Manager for Ripple Glass. I'm going to turn it over to Jamey and let her tell you a little bit about herself and her program.
Thank you. And thank you all for having me. I always love to talk to groups that want to learn and want to listen. So this is makes my day, makes my night. So I'm going to give you a little introduction to myself, and I'm going to go ahead and this is my family over here. I have three boys. We live in the Marietta area. My Vishla, that's my one girl. So that's my little savior in my world. Um, Everyone always asks me how I got into this. How are you so passionate about environmentalism and nature? And I put a little tag over there. My father was a state park officer. So I spent my first home was on a state park, a lot of time in a couple of different state parks in Florida. And I truly attribute being in nature for a good chunk of my childhood, just being able to wander and observe and appreciate and learn it firsthand. I really think that's where it comes from. So I think it was just something I was kind of born into. A little quick history. I have worked with Ripple now for about 6 months, but I was in glass recycling. I kind of just fell into this path about three or 4 years ago now. I started my own curbside glass pickup company. So it was called Cheers to Recycling. And I had customers in the East Cobb area. And once a month, I would go pick up residential glass from them. I would take all of my glass down to strategic material. So that's how I knew of strategic and how the whole glass processing worked. I really went down a deep rabbit hole of understanding it all. And then it really became a passion when I realized just how necessary it was. So that was how I got into this. Overall, though, I am just sustainable in general. It's a passion of mine. I'm on the board of My Green Earth, and some of you know Bethany Machini, and she's on the board there as well. She's the founder. So I work with her. Obviously, glass is important, but I like to. I mean, all of it is important. So we try to encapsulate all of the things we need to be doing environmentally and make that more easily accessible to all. That's a little bit about me. I did want to jump into just really quick, and I've realized as I've started talking to people more and more, even when people say, yes, you're right, we should definitely recycle glass. I think it's important to take a little bit of a step back and understand even more of why it's so important. And I think when you understand how it's made, it's really it's three ingredients: sand, limestone, and soda ash. You can read about what, the different things that those do to make up glass, but essentially, sand is the most, then soda ash, then limestone. And when you melt those all, that's what allows you to form it into a glass bottle. The big part of this is the recycled content. There can be a very large recycled content, so we are not using more of those natural resources. So I just think it's important to make sure people see the full picture of, we're mining these. They're natural and they're not toxic, and that's amazing, but we are taking or extracting these from the earth. So we need to make sure that we are using them to the fullest of their ability. So using those over and over and over is using them to the fullest of their ability. So I just like to touch on that a little bit. Why glass? Why would there's other options out there. And I think the three biggest are it's non-porous material. It doesn't hold smells or mess up the flavor when you put it. That's why a lot of different food products you really only see those in glass. There's no leaching of any kind of chemicals. It is FDA approved. Some people will say there's a lot of things FDA approved, but it is proven to be something it's safe. It's not harmful for our bodies, which that's a very important choice when you're making a decision on what to purchase. So then you get into why, okay, if it's natural, if it came from sand, can it go back to sand? Well, again, we really want to use that material to the best of our abilities. So you can, and I'm sure all of you in this group certainly know that you can reuse it consistently, you can recycle it infinity number of times, infinitely over and over without losing any of its quality. So that's huge right in itself. You're conserving natural resources. I think a big part of this too is understanding how this affects our local economy. Obviously, my job is to to help the process of collecting glass. So there you go. There's one job right there. But we're going to watch a little video in a second just about the importance of that and what it does for Georgia specifically. But obviously, we have plants all over the U.S. So in all of these areas, there's an opportunity to create more jobs, both on the glass recycling side and then the companies that we sell our product to that cullet to. So we are going to watch this really quick. Let me see if I can pull this one up.
Condiments, salad dressing, and beverages. So many of our favorite products are packaged in glass bottles. No matter where it is collected, curbside or at a drop-off recycling location, glass is 100% recyclable. In fact, many Georgia companies need your recycled glass to make their products. Strategic Materials, the largest glass recycler in North America, operates a plant in College Park, Georgia.
We recycle curbside, single stream, as well as drop-off glass. Presently, we are transporting glass from outside the state of Georgia to meet our customers' demand. What you see here
It's supposed to be a video.
information for the different types of bottles that we get in. Pre-COVID, those bunkers were full to max capacity. We would like to be 100% Georgia sourced, supply Georgia businesses.
80% of all glass containers recovered in the recycling process are used in the manufacture of new glass containers. The recycled glass bottles become new bottles. Several companies in Georgia, including Owens Corning, use recycled glass to make fiberglass insulation.
Glass is infinitely recyclable. It could be recycled, remelted, remade, and put back on a shelf within 30 days. It's a huge advantage, not only from a cost perspective, but from an environmental perspective to use recycled materials. We'll take as much glass as we can possibly get. We have very high demand for recycled content. We want to get the word out there that there are jobs in Georgia that are dependent on people recycling their glass, and we hope that everyone will do their part.
Recycle. Georgia businesses and Georgia jobs depend on.
Okay.
Was, was there a video associated with that?
Oh my goodness. Did y'all not just see that?
We just heard the audio.
Oh, there was a whole video. Oh my goodness. Okay. Well, there you go. Technical difficulties. I can send that video out to you afterward.
If you could do that, and then we could post that on our website.
I sure will. Yes. It's on YouTube, so easily accessible. That was done by the Georgia Recycling Coalition in conjunction with Strategic. So it lives out on YouTube.
Well, and I mean, we heard it, we just didn't see it.
Okay,
So.
that is very interesting. So I'm gonna figure that out, hopefully, because I had one more video. So we're gonna see if we can figure that out.
Well, sometimes it's just the bandwidth of.
Okay. Well, that one I can talk through this one if we can't see it. But so then we come to Ripple Glass. So a little bit of background. You heard about Strategic in the last video. Strategic is the largest glass processor in the United States. And Ripple was actually started in Kansas City. There was no option for recycling out there. And there was a brewery called Boulevard. You might have heard of their beverage or had a couple of them. But they were realizing we are consuming a large amount of glass and there's nowhere to recycle it. So they ended up, long story, and after, lots of collaboration, but developing a processing center in Kansas City and then built that program out. So they started with the Purple Bin program, making it easy and accessible for the public to be able to recycle. So they have probably over 100 of these Purple Bins now all over metro Kansas City area. That collects, I can't even tell you the number of, hundreds of tons of glass that's all collected now. Then they branched out to a commercial program. So bars, restaurants, golf courses, multi-unit housing. That program was launched, and then they do even have one residential program. There's a city out in Kansas City as well that the whole city, the municipality, does curbside recycling. So that's really exciting that those programs were launched. This caught the attention of Strategic Material. They said they started following, this company is doing very well. We would like to pull this in and be part of our organization. So they bought them in 2022. And then the official Ripple program was launched in the Metro Atlanta area in 23. So like I said, I came on board 6 months ago. At this point, we have 34 of these bins placed throughout Metro Atlanta. It's a pretty big spread. If you're familiar, I'm trying to think off the top of my head, all the way down to Fayetteville. I think we have one in Lawrenceville. We have a map as well. Yes. So a little bit of a map here that'll show you what really kickstarted the program was an agreement with Gwinnett County, and 10 bins were placed through that partnership. And then we either work with cities or municipalities, but we have independent liquor stores, we have Whole Foods. There's kind of a wide array of other locations they're doing really well. We've gotten 3 placed recently in the area that I'm at in East Cobb, and they are absolutely taking off. So it drives to me that people want an option, I think, but if it's not convenient, if it's not easy, I think you are all the diehards that are gonna load it up and take it where it needs to go and, make the commitment. But life gets busy. So a lot of times the average person just doesn't have that bandwidth sometimes. But if a bin is placed somewhere that they're driving by anyway, and maybe multiple times a day, like in a grocery store parking lot or somewhere that they're going to pass, the collection rate goes up tremendously. So, and that's of course our goal. All of our purple bins are free to the public. And again, to make it as easy as possible, they do not have to be sorted or cleaned. I always say, if you want the gold star, yes, you can clean those out and take off the lids and labels. But we don't want that to be a deterrent, because when it gets to the plant now with the technology, that all can be taken care of at the plant. So it's great not to have it, but we just want the glass beyond, people stressing about having to clean it or take the lids off. So the drop-off program, I think, has definitely proved out that it is the best process when it is collected on its own. Commingled, unfortunately, there's just a lot of contamination and some wish cycling in there that it just makes it a little bit harder when it gets to the plant to sort all of that out. So when we get glass in, that's when I say clean, not like scrubbed clean, but just non-contaminated glass, that's hands down the best practice. So I love when I'm at the plant and I happen to get to see one of my purple bins come in and it's just all beautiful glass. Maybe a cardboard box or something, but that's nothing that we can't work around. So that's definitely the goal, and it's just the best practice. Is there a question? Okay. Here's what we do accept in our bin. So if you want to just keep it super simple, anything that food or beverage would go into, any of those jars, bottles, anything like that. Typically your drinking, your vessels, your wine glasses and whatnot. When you get into what you don't want is any kind of coffee cup. Those are usually ceramic, or that's a different material that's not really glass. Candle jars, cosmetic jars, same thing. If they are pretty basic, then it's probably safe. If they are super decorative and have a lot going on, it's probably best not to. We can take windows, but specifically in the Ripple program, the doors are 3x3. So if you don't do anything crazy to try and get it in the door, there's other ways you can get larger items to the plant. And then what's not accepted, again, we do not want any kind of having it bagged. We as a society really like to bag things, but we want to actually go away from that. We just want the glass. So people will say to me all the time, well, if I dump it in, it's going to break. And like, that is 1,000% okay. We're going to break it anyway. So that's okay. The biggest contaminants, and this is something that goes into a lot with our customers that we sell for the fiberglass insulation, is not great for the process, are the ceramics and the porcelains, or the things like the Pyrex. Those all have they're different material actually, and they have a different melting temperature. And that does not do well with our system when they are trying to then use that mixed recycling material to make fiberglass in their process. So those are
I just want to make sure I understand. So like glass measuring cups are not acceptable.
if it's Pyrex, usually they're not, and it's because they're made to hold a very hot liquid, or you can put them in the microwave to melt your butter, or so
Gotcha.
things like that have that higher temperature threshold. Those don't have the same melting temperature as the regular jars and
Gotcha.
bottles. I wish I could show you the video, but I'm afraid you're not going to be able to see it. So let me just give it one shot and see if it lets you. Really quick. Sorry, it's done.
I wonder if you refresh your screen too after it starts. I don't know.
Let me see if it lets me. Oh, here. It says it's paused. We shared this one. Oh, here we go. Here we go.
There we go.
Okay. Can you see this screen now?
Yep.
Okay.
Nothing on it.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So this is 6 minutes. So just to give you a quick context, this was made for Ripple Glass in Kansas City. So just know that this is telling the story of Ripple. But when it gets down to inside the plant, how it's sorted and all, that's really what I want you to see. So I already told you about Boulevard, but there's some other good content.
You can see it.
Mm-hmm.
Before 2009, Kansas City hardly recycled any of their glass waste. The average person uses nearly 80 pounds of glass each year. This glass can be recycled over and over again, but most of it goes to the landfill. When we recycle glass, it means less material goes into our landfills. Making new glass out of recycled glass saves raw materials like sand and keeps us from having to mine for new materials. Since glass melts at a lower temperature than raw materials, using recycled glass to make new glass uses 30% less energy. Finally, using recycled glass cleans up our air. Every ton of recycled glass used means that we reduce carbon dioxide emissions by 600 pounds. To tell the story of how Ripple Glass solved Kansas City's glass recycling problem, we first have to tell you about its founder, Boulevard Brewing Company. A Kansas City brewery, Boulevard Brewing Company was looking to reduce their waste. Boulevard found that there was no local option to recycle their glass waste, even though there were local manufacturers that could use recycled glass to make their products. Boulevard also found that for waste glass to be reused by a manufacturer, there had to be a processor that cleaned the glass of things like paper, metals, and plastics. This processing facility did not exist in Kansas City. And because there was no processor available, not very much glass was being collected for recycling in Kansas City. Boulevard got tired of being part of the problem and joined local businesses and community organizations to start Ripple Glass in 2009. Ripple Glass did two things at the same time. It created a collection network for glass in Kansas City and built a processing facility to clean the glass into what we call furnace-ready cullet. Before we take a tour of this processing facility, let's show you how Ripple collects and transports glass for recycling. In late 2009, big purple bins began to appear in parking lots throughout Kansas City. Thanks to local businesses who volunteer as hosts, residents and businesses began to fill these bins with beer bottles, wine bottles, pickle jars, and all sizes and colors of glass. When a bin gets full, Ripple sends a truck to pick it up and deliver the glass to our processing facility. Because businesses like bars and restaurants use a lot of glass, Ripple started a commercial recycling program for businesses. Purple roll carts are set behind businesses and picked up weekly. And because Kansas City wasn't the only community in the area to suffer from the lack of processing facility, Ripple started accepting recycled glass containers from cities and towns in surrounding states. Remember, collecting used glass was no good without a facility to process it and make it into furnace-ready cullet. So, Ripple Glass built a facility to do just that. Let's take a look. When recycled glass arrives at the facility, it's weighed and dumped into outdoor storage areas. Processing the glass begins when a loader scoops it up and drops it into a hopper, about 1 ton at a time. The glass flows onto a conveyor belt and into the facility, where magnets and the human eye are used to remove non-glass items like bags, boxes, and cans. The glass is then fed into a crusher and broken into small pieces. It then passes through a dryer to remove moisture from the labels, and a delabeling machine that uses paddles to gently remove the labels. Once the labels are removed, the glass is ready for optical sorting. This computer-driven machine uses beams of light to find items that are not glass. Every second, 15 bottles or jars run past this amazing machine. When a non-glass item is spotted, the machine fires a strong pulse of air to reject it. The glass then moves on to another optical sorter programmed to look for colors. This machine looks for brown or amber glass. Once again, when it sees a piece of amber glass, it fires a strong puff of air to separate it from the rest of the glass. This amber glass is used to make new glass bottles, including those used by Boulevard Brewing Company. The remaining glass is then fed into a machine that crushes it down to the size of coarse sand. We call this furnace-ready cullet. Each day, trucks are filled with this cullet and delivered to a nearby manufacturer, where the cullet is used to make fiberglass insulation, helping to create more energy-efficient homes and buildings. Since Ripple Glass appeared on the scene, KC's glass recycling rate has climbed from 3% to 20% and continues to grow. We've made a lot of progress, but with your help, we can do much more. If you haven't started recycling your glass, visit our website to find a location near you. If you're already recycling, thank you. Please help us spread the word to your friends, family, and coworkers. More recycled glass means a better, cleaner, brighter future for all of us. Even a small act can create a big ripple. Every bottle counts.
Okay. Glad that you all got to see that. So I had talked about some of the things in the video, but the process is the same in terms of that plant that's in Kansas City. That's what we have here in College Park. So it's the same process. The purple bins get taken down, dumped, put in the hopper. They go through all the sorting and the cleaning process, and same thing. Some goes to back to bottle manufacturers, and then some go to our fiberglass insulation customers. And I do think, going back to the point about the jobs right here in Georgia, these jobs are very local. Our plant in College Park could turn around and sell to one of our clients that's right in Fairburn, Georgia, that maybe that installation could then go to a Home Depot wherever in Lawrenceville and be put into a home in Swanee. You know, it's just, there's a very amazing story to me, I think personally, that this is very local, and it doesn't need to travel far. We can keep all this right in our state. So I think I've already mentioned this, free to the public, no sorting. We talked about the commingling, and then what can and cannot be recycled. There's also other resources if you just want to know more and more about glass and its amazing benefits. The Glass Recycling Coalition and the Glass Packaging Institute those are good resources to go to. And then, of course, right here are the Georgia Recycling Coalition. They're a great supporter of the glass mission here in Georgia. So that is pretty much what I have for you. But definitely, want to open it up to questions and see or anything that I missed that you were wanting to know more about.
Mhm.
Yes.
I was wondering, we have fluorescence glass here in Covington. Do you all work with them?
That is a great question. And I think I had made a note to try and figure that out, and I started down the path, but I would like to figure out that, because if that's one of our customers, that's again, such an amazing story. And I think that people like to make those connections. So I will certainly look into that and see where they're getting their jars or bottles from their
So-
manufacturer.
Jamie, if you need help, the president of our chamber, is willing to connect you with the, plant manager for fluorescence.
Great. Yes, that would be amazing.
So if I don't know how quickly you want to make that connection, but I can connect you.
Yeah, let's do it. I like I said, I think I had put it on a note at some point in the last few months. And so I would love to figure that out too, and just see what the story is behind that.
So just full disclosure, Jamie is, we've been working behind the scenes to try and get a purple bin at near Render, which is the East Side Crossing Shopping Center. And so she'll have a conference call with their property manager tomorrow.
Yes, we do. We go through a process and we put an agreement in place. We have, bin hosts that we want to have a point of contact where we put our bin. And just so you know too, if you ever chat with anyone about this program, we monitor the bins. We have cameras inside of them. I can log in. I can see everything, that's going on from the inside. We do all of the hauling. We do all the logistics of that, get it down, get it dumped, get it back. And what I love is we can track the amount of glass that each bin produced or each bin host. So we can give them a login portal that's pretty cool to show them their diversion rates and kind of what they have helped contribute to not sending to the landfill.
JJ, I noticed you had your hand up. You'll need to unmute yourself to ask the question.
But as I recall, I heard somewhere along the line that in Newton County, for the Newton County systems, we actually used a company that supplies an asphalt plant with our glass. Is that right?
Wait, this applies to what?
And a company that grinds it up and gives it to an asphalt company that makes roads out of it.
Okay, there are companies. I think the majority of the stuff that comes to College Park's plant, I believe every plant's a little bit different based on your buyers in the area, but ours are more fiberglass than bottle, and then I think some jar. So I will have to confirm if we haven't, sell to an asphalt type company, but that's another use for it for sure.
So
Most of our glass recycling all of our glass recycling to this point has been through a partnership with the Newton County Solid Waste Authority and the City of Covington, and they are transporting that glass to Strategic Materials.
Yes. Rob?
Jamie, what are the metrics that y'all use to determine what community gets a bin? Is it population? Is it number of whatever grocery stores within a radius? How do you determine that?
Yeah, I honestly would say it's a little bit of a case by case basis. And number one is where are we getting requests to put them? I don't know if I would go into a place that really wasn't asking for one, or there wasn't an interest level, because we want this to work on both sides. But again, we have them at universities, a couple different universities. I can just tell you the hot spots where you're going to collect probably the most are going to be the grocery, any kind of a grocery chain type parking lot, a liquor store, the places that people are going to be frequenting or passing often. So I'll be pretty creative on where we put one, as long as we have the community support for it.
Does the host pay anything or receive anything?
It's kind of a case by case basis, but typically, there's different agreements, again, whether it's a city or a municipality or a private business. So it's not really a one answer type.
Okay.
It depends on the situation.
Um, this is really for Theodosia, maybe more. Where does Emery send their glass, do you know?
I don't
Emory
know.
is
Are they, go ahead,
Yeah.
Jamie.
strategic. Any large amount of glass that's being collected, whether it's through a ripple bin or not, more than likely is going to strategic. We're really the only processor in the Southeast area. And just as it said from Kansas City, how they would go to different states, that's another goal, is to expand and try and get more glass from other areas. You just have to set up a little bit of a different process with almost like a holding area to keep the glass to then get it to the plant.
Jamie, another question I have is, just are most of them, I realize it's probably case by case again, but I'm thinking convenience, open 24/7 so people can drive by at their convenience, any day of the week, anytime. Is it are most of yours set up that way?
Yes. So even the ones that maybe there's a couple that are, we do have one in like a recycling center that they have hours, a few.
Yeah.
No, I think we have like 3 that are in facilities that have specific hours. But again, and this is why I love the program, because personally, you just don't know when you have time.
Yeah.
And I may be driving by late, or I may be up way too early one morning going to a baseball game. And whenever it is, we want that to be as easy as possible for the resident. So yes, the ideal location is, not behind any locked doors, not hidden behind a building. You really want it out where people can see it. And that's why we tried to make them pretty and fun and appealing. And we're not just, chunking something out there that's not great looking. So the approach is certainly to let's make this as easy as possible.
Okay.
Anything else?
Any other questions for Jamie? I would like to, it is interesting when you look at that map
Mhm.
that there is a desert south of I-20.
Mhm. Yes, and I am trying.
I know you are.
I have lots of conversations going. I mean, ideally, and this is where, this took, again, it's been since 2009 in Kansas City, but they have over 100 bins. So their goal there, I think the pie in the sky was, let's put a bin within 5 minutes of every resident's house in the metro area. So that's a great goal. I'll jump on board with that. It would take a lot. It's not going to happen in the next, a couple months or year, but it's something to shoot for. So yes, there's a lot of room for growth.
So, I'm sorry, what?
In a busy market, how often is the bin itself picked up?
That is again, really a case by case basis. We have some that unfortunately they've taken a little longer than ideal. But the ones that we've placed recently that again are in those shopping centers or liquor stores, it's almost getting to once every couple of weeks. And those hold, we want a minimum of 6 tons. So they are already making a big dent in the ones that are doing well are really doing well and making a big difference.
Okay.
Jamie, how do you communicate to the community that you've put one somewhere and get people to come use it?
All kinds of ways. We do a lot on Facebook and Instagram, all of our social media outlets. That's a big push, but we also, I personally have been reaching out to homeowner associations that are specifically around the bins that we've recently placed, because so much of it is just letting them know it's there. I've been reaching out to, churches and synagogues and all kinds of any kind of religious organization where people congregate, to hopefully they will help. I'll send them the flyer and hopefully they'll put that message out. Any, of course, group like yours. if there's any kind of local paper or, you know, something, an online, something for the community, I'll do whatever measure necessary to get the word out there. And I'm open to other suggestions always, but it is definitely we will have a bin that will take, you know, it could take 5 months to fill up the first time. And then and then it's on after that, because then it's like, okay, you got to the right people. Now they know it's there. And then then it catches on, they start using it.
You know, given that that you have one coming into Newton County, actually into Covington, it would seem it sounds to me that Covington, the city of Covington, doesn't really have any difficulty with these bins showing up. I'm not sure what the status of the interface between Newton County and the city of Covington goes as far as the recycling of glass.
Well,
Yes.
they're a partnership. I mean, the landfill manager is very supportive of collecting the glass. You know, the landfill manager is the one that offered to put the bin at the city of Covington. The problem is, I don't think the city of Covington is as motivated as the landfill manager for Newton County.
And that's why I was saying, if she's already getting these things in, like the East Side Shopping Center, they could easily go into several other places because it's basically a private entity, not a government entity, doing the collecting.
Right. Well, that's my next question for you, Jamey. How can we help you to get some of these bins in our community?
Yeah, I think exactly what you've already been doing, Nancy, is incredibly helpful. If you have a connection with someone, and obviously making that introduction is very valuable versus me trying to just contact someone out of the blue. And then being able to somewhat vouch for the company. And this is not, I think one of the biggest things is this is not one of those collection bins that pop up in shopping centers that then collect stuff around them and are not managed or maintained. This is definitely, again, I really love my purple bins, and I watch them and I make sure I want them to do well, and I want the host to be happy. And I want it to be a mutually beneficial partnership, obviously. So we have a lot of care around them, and certainly don't just put them somewhere and then don't ever go back to them.
So what's the process for nominating a site?
I mean, if you know a property owner or someone who might be interested in that, it's just making the introduction, and we'll start that conversation. And of course, I'm sure they're going to want to hear from me all the, you know, we have certificate of insurance on the bins, and there's some on the backside that they're going to want to know about, and that's great. And again, that's why we actually do enter into an agreement with our bin host, just to make sure that both parties are on board. And again, it's mutually beneficial.
So it's important that a host basically gets in contact with you. We might contact a person or a host and suggest that they contact you, and then you and the host make the deal. Yes.
But a lot of times, if it kind of bubbles up, if they know, hey, this is something that my customers or the community want, I'll give you a small example. It's called Jackie's Fine Wine and Spirits, is one of the locations where we put them in. And the gentleman, the owner, was he said, you know what, this is just the right thing to do. So he was one of my first bins that I placed when I started, and I went in probably a month and a half later. I just like to check in with him and how's it going? And are there any issues? And he's like, Jamey, I had no idea this would be so successful. He said, I had people come in and say, I'm only coming here now because you put that bin in. So it can be a great thing. I mean, again, I just go back to, I do feel like even the average person, they want to do the right thing. It's just not easy. And I think glass is the low hanging fruit. That is the kind of one of the bare bones, especially once they understand, like, it is absolutely being recycled and it's being put back to use. All these great things about it. So that was a really big success story. There's another, it was covered in a little local online media outlet in the Marietta area. And I'll say that they usually have about 13 engagements per post, so likes and loves and whatnot. And when they covered that Whole Foods had a Ripple bin, there was almost 600 likes and loves, over 100 comments saying, "Oh my gosh, this is amazing." And so it just like literally gives me goosebumps because again, it validates that people do want it, and it can be really successful.
Well, we really appreciate you taking time, especially away from your children when they had a holiday today. We
Yes.
appreciate that. And we will continue to reach out to you and connect you with, my brain's already working on some people to connect you with tomorrow. So anybody else that wants to connect Jamey, you can see her email address and her phone number in the bottom of this slide. And we are excited to figure out how to put an oasis of glass recycling in the desert below South I-20.
Well, I would love to help you do that. And I really appreciate your enthusiasm with this and listening to the process. And I'm always happy to talk to any group. I do believe that when people see the full picture and they understand the whole story, it makes it even more compelling to make the effort and find a place to recycle it. So I'm happy to ever talk with any group.
Maybe we can get our name on a bin if we bring one into the community, brought to you by Sustainability.
Yes, we can talk about that. See if we can get some special magnet made just for you and keep that in your area. But yes.
Okay.
Right.
You know, the whole idea of convenience is essential. I mean, I'm a faithful visitor of our convenience centers and have collected the glass and then go there.
Which are not convenient.
Yeah, they're not necessarily convenient. And now the good news or bad news is that in our recycling centers, it's all just one bin, just like yours. We don't have to segregate them by color anymore.
Mhm.
But it's still not convenient. If I knew that I was going to the grocery store and I could put my bins in a box and then dump it in the box at the grocery store, that's one less trip that I have to make to the convenience center.
Absolutely. And you'd probably be maybe even more loyal to that grocery store.
Absolutely.
They have it. So
Thank you very much. You're welcome to stay on for our board meeting. At this point, I'm going to stop the recording.